Obi, welcome,
Yes, sir.
welcome to the Think Big for Africa podcast. See, like we started, I told you a little bit about my story, but we're here for my audience. Okay. Now, I don't want to waste time. Please, Obi, tell us a little bit about you and what you do. Start with your name.
Okay. My name is Obi Emelonye. I am part of a set of twins born into the Nigerian Civil War many months ago. And I have lived several lives. I think I'm on my seventh now. I have two in that time, I played professional football in Nigeria for a little while. I studied theater arts in the University of Nigeria and Nsukka. I studied law at Wolverhampton University. I practiced as a lawyer for a little while. I left that to produce films. I have made a few films that have, shown in different places, made money in the cinemas. I have 5 projects on Netflix, 1 on Amazon, and I'm a lecturer of filmmaking and head of module of the filmmaking course at the University of Huddersfield. And I am in the second year. I've just finished my second year for a PhD program from Goldsmith University of London.
Wow, Obi. See, when I was opportune to look at your profile, I said to myself, "Oh my God, how old is this man? He must
90,
be
90.
It was
He's
90. Footballer, writer, producer, director, lawyer. Sure, only you.
Don't leave me. I'm just greedy.
Wow.
I get big eye. I get big eye. I think if you reel them out that way, it looks like I am one confused guy. It's not that confusing.
Oh no.
What it is that no. If it's not for you, it probably might be for somebody who's listening. And I think the context is important to say that, as our people say, if you dance the dance that your mates have danced, and you move on from that dance to a different dance that your mates are dancing at the time. So when you are 4, you dance the dance of 4-year-olds.
Yeah.
When you are 10, you dance the dance of 10-year-olds. When you are 16, you dance the dance under trees in hidden places with those girls as you're growing up. Those are kind of coming of age stuff.
Yeah.
So it means that at every point in my life, I did what I was supposed to do. And by so doing, it means that I have touched
different things,
a few variety of things, and have gathered a few moss on my way to becoming this acting old man that I am.
Yes. You see, for me, I envy you. Okay. I envy you. I like people who have lived diverse life, who have gained knowledge in so many different areas of life, So I envy you. Okay, maybe
don't envy me. My life is good. I'm grateful for little mercies. Like I said, I was born into the Nigerian Civil War. That wasn't a very auspicious start.
Yes.
My mates died of kwashiorkor all those years.
Yeah.
So to have survived all of that means that there was a certain anointing on my life, and I am living proof of that. That if you do what you love long enough, you might become better at it.
Yeah,
and it might give you the kind of fulfillment you will never find anything else.
Yeah. Now, see, since you mentioned the Nigerian Civil War, I was lucky not to come into that. Okay, I was born a little bit fast, a little bit later. Okay, I was lucky. Yes. See, but talking seriously, in Nigeria, in Nigeria in recent years, I hear we don't teach history in our secondary school anymore. And for me, I don't know what informed that decision. But for me, maybe I'm wrong. Is the worst decision anybody can ever make. Because for the next generation not to know where they come from, not to understand how they got to where they are, is simply dangerous. Okay? It is. Okay? People don't see it, but I see, I don't know. So that's why I was enticed to look at what you do when I saw your latest production. Okay? Because I see you guys in film production as the only other avenue for people in Nigeria, the younger generation, to learn a little bit of history. Okay? So now you are a writer, producer, director, all in one. Okay?
Only me.
Yes. So see, before we go deep into your latest production, tell me, what does a writer, producer, and director in the film industry, what's your different? I mean, just enlighten us a little bit.
Okay. So once again, let me provide some perspective on how and why I have accumulated all of those job titles. So the process of filmmaking starts from an idea.
Yeah.
So you have a simple idea, story idea, and you develop that to the level where it is ready to be scripted. You script it. Somebody will look at it and say, I like it. I will find the money to make it happen. And you go on set, you shoot it, you make it happen. You go into post-production and you cut it and you add music to it and, embellish it and you release it. That is the process.
Yeah.
So when you are, so my introduction into the industry was a rather unorthodox one. So I studied theater arts, dramatic arts at the University of Nigeria and Nsukka, which taught me storytelling. It didn't teach me storytelling. It built on my local, native, vernacular knowledge of storytelling. My grandmother would tell us beautiful stories, and I admired the technique of the storytelling with songs and mime and parody and really a full arsenal of skills to tell stories. And that's that I would say is my foundation as a storyteller.
Yep.
Then I went to the University of Nigeria and Nsukka, and I built on that. Before I started playing football, I ran a small theater company going around universities in the southeast of Nigeria, showing my plays that I wrote and directed and I'm acting in. A little bit of creative entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
That's when it started.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, I had a football because I was discovered people to England to do that. And when that didn't work, so when I decided not to play football anymore, I felt that the next thing, and every young person who's listening to this should be aware of this, because I guess what you decided to do when you were 15 or 16 doesn't always materialize.
Yep.
You might evolve and grow out of it, or life might pummel you in a different direction, and you go out of it by force. But in my case, it was a case of, like I said earlier on, having the options. being having the presence of mind, having the gift to be able to do whatever it is at the time that I set my mind at doing.
Yeah.
So once I decided not to play football, I set my mind on exploring my creative talents. So I started with plays in London. I directed plays at Broadway, Catford Broadway Theatre, made it big shows, had press coverage, and then I discovered that it was very difficult to make it work commercially, because the grants that are keeping the white theater industry alive were not available to us, and we couldn't survive commercially. So I felt, okay, that's not the future. It's a lot of hard work, but I would need to leave 5 in a room in Camden to be able to eke out a living doing that. And I didn't want to do that. So I felt the future was on the screen, whether it was a small screen or the large screen.
Yeah.
But I had zero training for that. Zero training. I was trained on the craft of the stage.
Yeah.
So I bought myself a camera, and that was when YouTube was coming online. I went on YouTube, learned a few things, bought a camera, bought a laptop, an Apple laptop with Final Cut software on it.
Yeah.
Called my friends together. One of them is Anthony Manjaro, who's now a reputable actor in Nollywood. Called them together and said, we're going to shoot a film. So I learned by doing. And after making that film, in 2000, I decided to go to Nigeria at the time that Nollywood was beginning to come up.
Yeah.
So I had the choice of either going to the BBC and becoming an apprentice and having people who were less talented knock me about and knock my confidence, or I had the opportunity of going back to Nigeria, to an evolving film industry, to practice what I wanted to practice, to learn by doing, to learn by my mistakes, to sink or swim. And I lasted 1 year, but those months, exactly 12 months, were, the kind of fire that forged this passion, this resolve to be the best that I could be. Because I'd left Nigeria as a young man, and I returned as another naive young man who didn't understand the business climate of Nigeria and the fact that people, when they say stand, run. When they say run, jump. And I believed that whatever they told me was true, and I got burnt. It was a very good experience. I had a lot of episodes of going to Idumota to lock people's shops and confront them in a fight, and the whole of Idumota would gather and start begging me, and I did that for a little while, and I felt, no, this is not working. There must be another way. So I packed my things and came back to London, and I said I was going to come back, and The Mirror Boy became my comeback film. And everything happens in its time.
Yeah.
I think the coming of new Nollywood, which is a more expansive, more qualitative industry that evolved from the old Nollywood DVD and VHS, was timely for me, because Mirror Boy keyed into that movement with cinemas and with film festivals. And I have been unrecognizable since then, from the guy that they chased out of Nigeria in 2021.
Wow.
In 2001.
Yeah.
2001.
Yeah.
So to go back to your question, I have learned the art of storytelling, and taught myself through practice and through study and short courses how to write scripts. And because I'm also a director, I've been directing on stage, even from my second year. I understood how to manipulate actors. And now that I was working with a different medium, which was camera, I understood how to control that vis-a-vis the actors that are in the shots, and how to create the illusion, how to turn this place into a nightclub by moving a few things around. That kind of ingenuity that came from theater practice, I carried over. So because if I was to choose a role, I would just choose a director role.
Mm.
But as a director, you need good materials to work with.
Yeah.
And they are in very scarce supply.
Mm.
It's either you sit and wait for the best script to come to you by some miracle, or you go ahead and create one.
Right one. Yeah.
If you have the skills to do it, and you have the experience to tell the story,
Yeah.
and you have the experience from a directorial point of view to affect that story from an early stage,
Yeah.
then it makes for a slightly better, it might not read better, but the artistic vision is clear from the very beginning because you are involved through that process.
All
So
through the process.
that's how I started writing. So I would, because you need the materials to work with, and the materials are not going to fall from heaven, I go on and create the material. And then my preferred position is to direct, and I direct it. And when I finish directing, at the time, the quality of editing that I wanted, I could not afford to pay for it.
Wow.
So I taught myself how to edit.
Woo!
And I would edit it. And the whole administration of running a show is producing.
Yeah.
It's like
Mm-hmm.
the management of the production is that's the producing job. And I do that anyway. And also at the time when I wasn't doing it, I needed to take that producer credit because that is internationally, that's the right, that's your right to sell the film.
Yeah.
If you didn't have producer credit and I was at the film festival and they wanted to buy the film, I would have to call somebody, say, please, for my film, come and sell this film. No. So I had to have that credit to be able to transact easily.
Yeah.
That's how the producer credit came on board. I was doing the producer work anyway.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't have taken that credit for my simplicity, for my humility. But because I needed to be able to make business transactions on behalf of the project, I took the producer credit. And that's how I've become a writer, director,
everything,
producer, and in most cases, editor. But what I also do is I work with a team of, they say, like Obama said, that when you hire people who are smarter than you, in that particular area, you benefit from their smartness. Occasionally I'll work with editors who are more experienced, and I will do the first cut and give them the film and say, this is what I want to do, make magic. And they will make their magic,
they will,
based on my original idea. So that's how I became all of those things. It's not because I'm greedy.
See, my first daughter, she wants to be an actor. Okay. A few weeks ago, she's in A levels. A few weeks ago, I went to watch her performance for her A level, and it was really good, and I was surprised, and pleasantly surprised because the improvement within a year, she's a member of my local theater group. They had a show a few weeks ago at the theater. It was good. The one in our school 2 weeks ago, it was good. I'm looking forward to see her progress in that field.
Blossom.
Yeah.
No, it's nice to see that, to have the talent, to have the presence of mind to identify that as a career, and to have the work ethic, because it's a lot of hard work and it's a lot of rejection, it's a lot of judging.
Okay,
needs to go on. So
that's just
a lot of resilience. A lot of resilience is required.
Yes, that's what she needs to see in action. In fact, I'm hoping to send her to Nigeria for a holiday to work with my cousin who is in Nollywood as a director and producer like you.
Okay.
Yeah, to go and learn one or two things.
She needs field experience. That would put her in very good stead.
Yes. So Obi, you see, in the last, you mentioned Nollywood. Nollywood started in the last decade of last century. Okay, And in 3 decades, it has grown to become the third most productive industry behind Hollywood of America, Nollywood of India. Where do you think Nollywood is going in terms of influence, production, revenue, and job creation in Africa? Because see, I think Nollywood has gone beyond Nigeria. Okay, it's now an African, industry.
Phenomenal.
Yes, phenomenal. So where do you see it going?
Let me provide some correction, as it were.
Okay.
Nollywood, based on the 2009 UNICEF study,
okay,
is actually the second largest film industry in the world.
Wow.
Based on quantity of films.
Okay, quantity. Okay.
Ahead of Hollywood, but only behind India's Bollywood.
Okay, in terms of quantity, yes. Okay.
Yes, in terms of the
quantity.
Number of films, feature films released. I'm not sure there is an up-to-date record of where that is, but we're not going to we're going to use that for reference purposes to say how the film industry that started from no artistic, no formal, no real world business idea would have flourished in 3 decades to that level. And there are a few reasons. So ordinarily, before the emergence of the Nollywood that we know, the film industry that we know that came on the back of Living in Bondage by Kenneth Nebwe. Before that, there was, the Nigerian film unit that was producing propaganda videos for the military, for the colonial government.
Okay.
And when we had independence, we had a television station which became
NTA,
main creative hub, NTA.
Before and then the Yoruba NTA, it was called I can't remember.
Southwest Broadcasting Corporation.
Okay.
It was based in Ibadan, essentially. Yeah. So it was a Yoruba. It started in 1959, even before independence.
Yeah.
So that influenced what the very soapy, episodic nature of Nollywood films.
Yes.
It's an offshoot from that television history.
Yeah.
And then the Yoruba Traveling Theatre, which started
Ogunde
days of this world.
Oh my! I went to watch many of them.
The love of this world who evolved from stage productions to film production.
Yeah.
So that they can reduce the cost of their productions.
Yeah.
So all of those things influenced Nollywood. So when Nollywood evolved, it was ready, even though there wasn't formal training of the people in Idumota who were the driving force behind it.
Mm-hmm.
They had an array of talent in front of camera and a bunch of technical guys who were competent behind the camera, who had worked on NTA's productions, who had done some of the Yoruba Traveling Theatre films. So when the business idea of being able to sell VHS tapes with local content on it, because that's what it was.
Yes.
Being able to sell VHS tapes with local content on it. So when the pirates who were pirating Indian films and American films on those VHS tapes decided no longer to pirate those films, but instead to put local content on it in local languages, an industry was born.
Yeah.
But that industry, like I said, benefited from what was already existing, which was the NTA and the Ogundes of this world who had trained actors, But the biggest factor in the success of Nollywood, especially at that early stage as an industry, the biggest factors, I would say, not one factor, there were several factors. One of them was the availability of that cheap technology.
Yeah.
At that time, the VHS tape was being eradicated all over the world, and most of the Japanese and Taiwanese companies that had warehouse full of those things were selling them on the cheap to Africa. A lot of people owned VHS players and TV.
Yeah.
And that was also part of the the oil boom money that Nigeria had in the 70s, but people could afford those things. So it meant that when the industry landed, there was a machinery of VHS tapes ready to play them.
Yeah.
If people didn't have VHS tapes, they're not going to buy it.
It didn't work. Yes.
So that was one of the most important factors that created the fertile ground for Nollywood to evolve. The second issue that helped Nollywood evolve was numbers.
Yeah.
If Nigeria was Togo,
it didn't work. Yeah.
Nollywood would have happened.
Yeah.
It's the sheer numbers, the millions of Nigerians who are at a level of economic survival to afford a few hundred nairas for entertainment.
Yeah.
If you are living from hand to mouth, entertainment becomes relegated to the background. So there was a slightly economically empowered, huge number of people who were ready to embrace local content.
Yeah.
Because at that time, Indian films and Chinese films stopped selling.
Yes.
There was a renaissance, a cultural renaissance in our heads that we felt we want to see ourselves on TV. What do I know about an Indian? What do I know about a Chinese? And that whole combination of
factors,
confluence of circumstances, led to the very fertile ground upon which that living in bondage germinated. And once it did, the Nigerian spirit took over, which is, my friend has just bought a ticket and won the lottery. I am going to buy every ticket available to make sure that I'm the next person to win. And that's what they did. So everybody along that Idumota street who were trading on VHS tapes and pirating old Indian films started. I have a cousin, he can write a script. Come on, write a script. So the idea wasn't to make a brilliant film. It was just to tell a story, to communicate. And that's how the industry started. So with an industry like that, there was no government involvement. There was no organized commercial sector. The banks were not giving money. Everybody would go and sell land and borrow to make their own films, and they made the money back. A lot of them are rich. They have hotels all over the place.
Yeah.
Some of those guys in the early Nollywood stages. But like every industry, it needs to, the VHS and the VCD format reached what I would consider a crescendo.
Yeah.
At which point, overproduction, lack of quality, fatigue from the audience who were expecting some kind of development in the industry that wasn't forthcoming, meant that TV, they started showing Nollywood films on TV. Africa Magic was launched by Mnet, the South African company. And all of those circumstances brought Nollywood to a head, whereby the films were no longer selling. And something had to give. And what gave was a new generation of Nigerian filmmakers, in which I count myself, evolved and said, okay, we're going to take this Nollywood phenomenon and we're going to take it back. Let's take a step back and go back to art.
Yeah.
Let's not just think about the story. Let's think about how it's presented, how it's packaged. Let's think about presentation. Let's think about the script. Let's pay attention to details. Let's go to film festivals. Let's do cinemas. And then Silverbirds emerged in 2004 with a multiplex in VI. And before you know it, Nigerian was becoming, right now we have over 232 screens showing a mixture of Nollywood and Hollywood films. At that time, there was none, because all the cinemas before in the 80s had closed because of security, because of the fall of the naira against the dollar, and they couldn't buy the films, and they were converted into churches and warehouses. So for an industry that has been through that, you see that the present stage whereby the big hitters of the global film industry, the Amazons of this world, the Netflix of this world, are pitching tent in Nigeria, because they see Nigeria as the next frontier.
Yep.
And they are taking huge amounts of money on the future of Nigeria. But
Yep.
just like everything else, there's a flip side to that.
Oh yeah.
Because an industry that, so the main difference between Nollywood and a more artistic francophone film industry in Ouagadougou, in Mali, and in Mauritania, they had artistic filmmakers who were trained in Paris, who told great stories that made it to the Cannes and won awards at the Cannes.
Yeah.
But the biggest problem with those films was they were not sustainable. The money for those films came from France.
Yeah.
And he who pays the piper dictates the tune.
Yeah.
So, and for Nollywood, the main difference was that there was nobody bankrolling Nollywood. It was a self-sustaining industry.
Yeah.
That laid its own rules, that disobeyed the conventions of filmmaking, and yet survived. And like they say, it survived on what they call an infrastructure of piracy. It is the infrastructure of piracy that they used to sell pirate films, that they used to sell Nollywood, to grow Nollywood to where it is today. So for an industry that has made its mark based on its sheer artistic and editorial independence, when these big players start to come on board, they will start to dictate the kind of films they take.
Yeah.
By not saying only give me certain kinds of films. No, by taking a certain kind of film, you are telling the filmmakers to make those kinds of films. Especially when it's like becoming the only sheriff in town, because there are no other ways to make money. The cinema, the lockdown that ruined our lives in the past 2 years.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Their cinema is a big blow.
Yeah.
So the cinemas are only just recovering.
Yeah.
Throughout 2000 up until a few months ago, it was just Netflix that was the only avenue to make real money. And if you're spending a certain amount of money and you want to get it back, your best bet was through Netflix. And by that, Netflix invariably, inadvertently, became the dictator of the terms, which is why if you watch Netflix, you see a lot of party scenes, party films.
Yeah.
Because they bought those party scenes, people went ahead and made them in order to sell.
Yeah.
You will not go and do a funeral scene when they're buying party scenes. You know what I mean? So for an industry that has distinguished itself based on its independence, the gradual erosion of that independence by the infiltration of these global players is going to spell doom for the industry at some point.
Yeah.
Unless something is done to retain that independence, to retain that creative license. And that's the way I look at it. That's the way I look at the future. The future is rosy, but it needs management. If we manage it right, then players that are coming in will become a huge plus. If we do not manage it right, it would be a cultural, cinematic imperialism.
Yeah.
Because they will enslave us all over again.
Yeah. That has been one of the biggest line of thought that many of us have been trying to get our heads around.
Yeah.
Colonialism would not be physical.
No.
Okay. It will be mostly mental. Okay. Yeah, it's something we need to think about. And I talk about it all the time, you know. Yeah. So since the early 20th century, okay, the motion picture industry has increasingly influenced the minds of both the ordinary citizens and even the leaders of our society. Okay. Now, in the 21st century, it has been, well, I say democratized, okay, via the smartphone, okay, like you learned a few things in YouTube,
Yeah.
And social media platforms are allowing a lot of young people to make to produce and direct their own little 2 minute
Project.
movies. Okay, and the influence and it influences young people. Okay, so what are the benefits and challenges to our society in general? Okay, the African society in general, and the whole the global society. What is what are the benefits and the challenges you see?
Um, I tell young filmmakers who approach me and say, I need to blow. And I say, your blowing is in your hands for the first time ever. The blowing of any creative person
Mm,
in the palm of their hands.
yeah,
When we were starting, my blowing was in the hands of those marketers that
yeah,
cheated me.
yeah,
My blowing was in the hands of the cinemas that would take my film and not pay for months. My blowing was in all those failed business deals where somebody has dripped me off. But all of a sudden, because of the democratization, as you called it, of the media,
yeah,
where your phone has become a tool
yeah,
for broadcast,
yeah.
and with your phone, you can give you an instance. This Gambian boy who was jobless. Is this Senegalese or Gambian? An African boy
Yeah,
he was born in Italy.
on TikTok.
Yes,
Yeah, oh yeah,
yes.
yeah. I saw him.
He had no training. He didn't know how to act. He couldn't
Nothing.
speak. He just made videos
Yeah,
and did his hand this way. And all of a sudden he's modeling for boss. He's opening, having kickoff at important games in the
yeah.
US.
Mm-hmm.
It's made all because of a mobile phone.
He
In
just used
Nigeria,
his hand.
even Africa Magic Viewers Choice Awards, which is one of the biggest award bodies in Africa, has created a category for social media influencers.
Wow.
And the way they have taken over everything is some of my friends who are proper filmmakers are beginning to copy them. And I'm saying, no, let them enjoy that one. You cannot do everything.
Yeah,
Let them
yeah.
enjoy that one. Stay in your zone. Filmmaking is still a profitable thing. You
Yes.
can't compete with them in terms of the number of followers they have, and you
No,
don't have to compete with them.
no.
But stay where you are. And some of my friends were saying, I want to build my TikTok. I said, it's nice to build it, but build it organically. Do not go and start doing what you don't know how to do or what will make you look stupid because you're chasing somebody else's destiny.
Yeah.
Your destiny is there for you. So back to the question. It's a case of having your own destiny in your own hands.
Yeah.
And that is the first time ever that has been the case.
Yeah.
So you do not need anybody, really. You do not need me, those young directors who will contact me. I said, you don't need me. Call your friends, use your phone, get a free online software, edit the film to your heart's content. Go on YouTube, get their music for free, put it on the film, share it with everybody.
Yeah.
If it strikes a chord, people will share it without knowing who you are.
Yeah.
And once they start sharing it, your profile rises,
Yeah.
and people would now pay you to do what you've been doing for yourself.
Yeah.
So the prospects are great, and I cannot overemphasize the novelty of that power and influence in the hands of young people, and I guess they have to understand how powerful it is by comparing themselves to what we were a few years ago when we were their ages. There was none of these opportunities.
No.
As with everything, as Spider-Man would say, with power comes responsibility.
Yeah.
And therein lies the flip side of that coin. Because there is a commodification of everything.
Yeah.
Everything is for sale. There is a level of fakeness that drives people to impossible lengths trying to keep up with the Joneses. You know, if I wanted to break some hearts and set people's pulses racing, I would have put a background of Malibu in this video.
Yeah.
And I'll be talking to you as I'm talking to you from Malibu.
Yeah.
And somebody will say, why is my life like this now? Why not me? God, when is my own coming? Meanwhile, so you find that there is a huge difference between the person online and the real person in their homes.
Yeah.
So you find these ladies in Nigeria, they will borrow their friend's costume or their friend's clothes, go to a restaurant, take the most alluring pictures ever, and go home to their under the bridge squat.
Yeah.
And you see the pictures on the or in the restaurants, you think she's living the life. Meanwhile, she's lying on her mat somewhere being eaten by mosquitoes. And somebody will look at it and say, you know, why put themselves under pressure to try and meet that expectation.
Yeah.
That is the flip side.
Yeah.
There's also the misinformation, which we've seen all over the place, where people manufacture stories, share videos from different contexts, and use them to say, oh, they're killing Hausa people in Imo State now. And then there will be reprisal attacks in the north immediately because they've seen the video of Hausa people being killed in Imo State, forgetting that was in Mali, if you know what I mean. So that is the other side of it. Apart from the pressure on young people to live on impossible to meet impossible expectations of personal appearance, of worldly things, of achievements, of success. There is also the flip side of people having to contend with a level of misinformation that the world has never seen.
Yeah.
I can actually say a lie this morning, put it online, and before morning, everybody's carrying it, believing it to be true.
Now, what you just talked about, the disinformation is the most challenging thing we need to get our hands on top of, because like you said, people just get one video from somewhere and they edit it a little bit, put captions and share it, you know. And for me, I noticed one thing about most of the videos coming from Nigeria in particular. They don't share it from a website or YouTube. They share the file itself. I don't know why they do that. Okay. See, because I know that if they share those videos on YouTube, okay, if they share the link to YouTube, somehow YouTube will remove many of them. So I don't know why we share raw files.
So the explanation for that is rather simple. When you're sharing a link,
yes,
you are making somebody rich.
Yeah.
So when you share, if I put a video on my YouTube, if I release a trailer for argument's sake,
yes,
and I release it on my YouTube page, most blogs will not take the link from my YouTube page. Most blogs would download the trailer.
Why?
And put it on their platform.
So
because they are growing. That is part of the problem. So there is a consumerism that is going on, whereby everything is about how many eyeballs I hit.
So you that
to my channel,
you that did the work to make that trailer, you don't get anything.
You don't get the following. People got rich on Last Flight Abuja because of how influential and how successful it was. People, by just putting the trailer on their platforms, not connected, not linked to my original launch page, they would just download it, put it on their page. Boom. They have
and then
1,000 views, 1 million views.
Start following their page.
Yeah. So what they now do is essentially, it is the eyeball, and they don't want you to come back. They just want you to come to their platform to watch it. You watch it, you can take it and go somewhere else. So there is the attention, like the attention span of the average young person these days is as long as a TikTok video, which is, 10 seconds?
Wow. Anyway, so when it comes to this disinformation, that's the biggest challenge I see for us. See, I've said this to people. I don't know if I'm making sense, that if, for example, you're complaining about something, okay, and you are complaining in front of the person you're complaining about, and they know that what you are saying is not exactly the way you are saying it, okay? See, what for me, what happens is that if that person is actually your enemy, they will leave you to be doing that, because they don't know that if you believe all those things, they also have the opportunity to use your ignorance against you.
Absolutely.
See, that's why I say when I go on social media, especially Facebook, I join several African focused groups, and I see a lot of videos, threads, arguing one thing or the other. See, for me, I just go there and ask some questions. Okay, I don't tell people what to do, but I ask questions to at least make them start thinking about those things. And unfortunately, many people do not want those questions. If I just say anything about, maybe they label me as indoctrinated by the West, for example, or they label me as indoctrinated by either the South or North, depending on who the enemy is at the moment. You see, people don't want to think seriously about things. Okay. And that's why this podcast is called Think Big for Africa. Because until we start thinking, the things we do will bounce back on us. If we do things out of inadequate knowledge, ignorance, and see, this is why disinformation is spreading, because the people are ignorant. Okay, ignorance is not a bad word. It only means, hey, you don't know.
You don't know.
I'm ignorant about so many things. Okay,
yeah.
And that's why I ask a lot of questions. Because I want to know. Most people don't want to know. They just want to swallow whatever is placed in front of them and run with it. And it's bad. It's bad for us. What do you think?
No, definitely. I think the Bible says, "My people suffer for lack of knowledge."
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I have a few Bible verses that I quote.
Yes.
Very regularly.
Yes. It's good.
And it will be a topic for another day. But I think the level of cultural, spiritual, if you call it, indoctrination that has gone on, where people refuse to see anything good in who we are. You know, they even hate themselves because they've been taught to do so. They hate everything about them. They hate the innocuous, innocent cultural things that they do, because somebody has labeled them pagan, or somebody has said that there's something wrong with it. And that's the slave mentality, because in order to conquer somebody physically, you have to conquer them mentally. And it's that mental conquest that we are still suffering from, because we're not in chains anymore, but we're still bound by invisible chains in our heads, because we don't know any better. And it would take probably a generation for our children and our children's children to say, why did my parents and my grandparents buy this bullshit? They'll be able to turn it around. But for now, I try to convert one person at a time. To tell them to be proud of who they are, to be proud of their heritage, to call themselves their names, no matter how difficult somebody else finds it. That's where it starts from, your identity. Your name is Ekene Banye. And if somebody pronounces it wrong, you tell them.
Correct them.
Correct them. They learn it. If they can pronounce Arnold Schwarzenegger, then they can pronounce Emelonye very easily. So it is that in instilling that level of confidence in the children, in yourself, and how you conduct yourself, and holding yourself and holding your head high to say, I am somebody, I'm from somewhere. I don't want to mix. I don't want to accept your diversity as a means of selling who I am. I want your diversity that sees me as me without me having to make concessions. So, topic for another day.
That's true. Now, see, the attraction to you was through your latest production, you know?
It's not even the latest anymore. Badamasi. It was made in 2019, so it's very old.
Really? Yes. Wow. Well,
it has suffered from red tape, black tape, and green tape.
Okay.
That's why it's only coming out 3 years later.
Okay.
I'll come to that.
Well, I was opportune to watch it a few days ago, and it's very interesting. No. See, it's interesting in the sense that it gave me pause. Okay, and I stepped back and said, this is something to think about, because the movie is basically about our ex head of state, General Ibrahim Babangida. Okay. And yes, I saw his humanity in that movie. Okay. And somehow, I was young then. In fact, by 1993, I was 20. Okay. And the lockdown of the school gave me one extra, because that was the year I was supposed to graduate, but gave me one extra year, and I didn't like it. Okay, but yes, I didn't like it because my very good friend, who also graduated at 20, I was supposed to beat her, because I date, if I had graduated at the time I graduated, I would have beat her by a few months, but she beat me, Anyway,
it is well.
Yes. So it gave me a lot of things to think about. A lot of things I I never looked at him as a person. Yes, that's the truth. Okay, I only saw him in my mind's eye. I only saw him as that Maradona we talked about. Okay,
Absolutely.
but
Absolutely.
Viewing this movie, it gave me 2 hours of time to see the agony he must have gone through. Because in truth, yes, there was riot and whatever, but he didn't actually behave like a dictator that we all have seen across Africa. No. He was never like that at any time. He was cunning, okay? He was cunning, but he wasn't violently.
It wasn't brutal. No.
Yes, he wasn't. That's the truth. Yeah. So that watching this movie and remembering that he wasn't brutal, I said, okay, this may be true. So tell us about the movie, why you made it, and hey.
So, very long story. I'll try and give you the short version of it, the abridged version. So in 2016, I just finished that theatrical run for a film that I made in 2015 called Oxford Gardens. I made in collaboration with Africa Magic, and it was in the cinemas in December 2015 all through to about February 2016. So when that run finished, I was in Nigeria. I had been nursing the idea of doing a biopic. I thought about, worthy subject matter. Thought about the Obasanjos of this world, the Gowons of this world, the Ojukus of this world, the Abiolas of this world. But I was swayed by two things with IBB. One of them was the fact that his life story reads like a Hollywood blockbuster.
Yeah.
full of intrigue, full of coups for and against, full of Maradona dribbles and intrigue and full to the brim with June 12.
Yeah.
I said, what better subject would a Nigerian want to do in a biopic than somebody with that kind of a full dramatic life?
Yeah.
The second thing that attracted me to him was in 1990, when I was in final year at the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, I received an award from IBB called the Nigeria National Youth Award. It was my first major award. In fact, my first award of any note, apart from being the best footballer from my village. And that kind of gave me a lot of admiration for the man. The day I saw him, I had photographs with him when he shook my hand and gave me, pinned the medal on my chest.
Yeah.
And I've kind of, respected him, how he comported himself. And incidentally, it was only 2 weeks. We received that award 2 weeks before the Okaku happened.
Ah, okay.
So when the Okaku happened, I was back in school and I was actually crying for him. That was how emotionally I was attached to the person. So fast forward from 1990 and nothing happened with that award. Never saw him again. And then I spoke to somebody, a lady who had access to him, and she promised to take me to him. I flew into Abuja, drove with the lady to Minna, and after waiting for a long time, we were given an audience with him. I prepared a small pitch. to ask him to allow me to make the film. And I gave it to him. And I said, my name is Obi Emelonye. I'm a filmmaker. I made the film called The Mirror Boy, Last Flight to Abuja. And he said, you made The Mirror Boy? I said, yes. He said, I've seen The Mirror Boy. I said, I'm gonna lie. I said, I gotta lie. He said, I've seen it. And I said, okay, tell me the story. And he did. Is it Genevieve and Osita? I said, that is the summation of why I'm here.
Ooh.
If this village man from Imo State, Idato South, local government area, can reach you in your world, in your living room, and you've watched The Mirror Boy 3 times, you don't even know that I exist, but I can reach you. A lot of books have been written about you, but on the launch day in Abuja, people will come, dress up, buy the books for millions of naira.
Yeah,
go
they
home,
don't read it.
Put it on their shelves.
Yeah,
they say if you want to keep something from a black man, hide it in a book.
Yeah, they don't read it.
They don't read it. And then look at where Nollywood has come to, where somebody like me can have access to you. You can imagine the number of people that have seen The Mirror Boy in their living rooms who will be there wondering, who's this guy? They don't know, is this Bushman? So I said, that sums up the reason I'm here. I said, I've met you before. He said, where? I said, in 1990, State House Marina, Lagos. He said, what was the occasion? I brought out the photographs and I showed him. And his face just lit up like this. He was so happy. And he was pointing out people in the pictures. That person, oh, they died last year. Oh, that one, she visited me last month. The 2 minutes that I was supposed to have with him turned into 2 hours. Because he felt an affinity with me. And that was it. He said, come back in 3 months' time. Here are some books about me. Read them. Come back 3 months. Let me think about it. 3 months, I came back. He said, come back in 2 months' time. I haven't discussed it with my sons. I'll go back to London. Come back 2 months later. He would say, all right, here are more tapes. Listen to the tapes while I think about it a bit more. Come back. From March 2016 until December 2018.
Wow.
Was when he now said, okay, I'm going to tell you the story. But by then I was already writing the script based on the books that I was reading. Then he gave me what I consider to be no holds barred interview over 3 nights.
Wow.
So it starts about 7 till midnight. Any question I like, I asked, I recorded, I wrote down, and that was how I built the materials to be able to tell the story. And I made it very clear from the very beginning. And I was on some platforms since the film released on Amazon where they've questioned, the perspective of the film. And I said, look, a lot has been written about IBB and all the things that happened under his watch. A lot. Copious newspaper articles, books, research been done on it. So I'm not going to make a film based on what's already in the public domain. The unique selling point of this film is that it is going to be the first time that IBB, after keeping quiet, maintaining this noble silence all this while, this is the first time he's addressing these subjects openly, exhaustively. That's the unique point of the film. Otherwise, if you want to know about IBB, type IBB, you'll see all the things on the internet about him, if you want to believe the myth.
Yeah.
But if you want to see things from his perspective, even if you don't believe it, even if you don't want to believe it, but at least you can hear him out, and then you can make up your mind. Because I tell people that the truth of all the things that happened in that period is not in the film IBB, in Badamasi. It's not in that film. The film is a perspective from one of the major players.
Yeah.
And we need all the other major players to say their own perspective, and somewhere in the middle,
There's the truth. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So to cut a long story short, I started making the film in 2019. We finished about May 2019. It was supposed to go in the cinemas in Nigeria. That was when the problem started. Some dark voices from very dark corners started approaching me, talking to me not to release the film. I ignored them and still went ahead. And then I saw that government agencies were also being used to frustrate the release of the film.
Ooh. Really?
That was when I knew. That was when I knew that there is no need to fight the system. Our people say that if one person cooks for the whole community, the community will eat it. But if the community cooks for one person,
you cannot do.
They can't eat it. So I said, you know what? I am not foolhardy.
Yeah.
And maybe it's time to rest this project. And thankfully, the people that invested in making the film understood the risks they were taking, and they were willing to be patient. So I told them, let's not do a cinema run anymore. I called the distributor and said, we're not releasing in the cinemas anymore.
Yeah.
It's for them, for the people that are opposing this film, it's direct confrontation. Yes. I don't want to do direct confrontation.
Yes.
Let's look for another means. Then Netflix heard about the film, previewed it, said very complimentary things about it, especially about how they're going to grow a different kind of audience with a film like that. And they were considering, really taking the film on at a level. I think they were considering original. And then one day, my distributor called me and said, Netflix are saying that we need to get a letter from the government.
Ooh.
I said, why? This is from the same people that made The Crown, that parodied the Queen of England. Did they get a letter from the Prime Minister before they made The Crown? Did they? Who does that? If we cannot be backed by the global corporations to tell stories like this, what do they want us to do? Do another party as a film? Or let the story die so that a few years from now, Hollywood will come and take a perspective that is imperialistic on it and do a parody of the man? No, this is our story. We have to tell it ourselves. And these agencies, these global players would have to support us. But, I guess Netflix was vindicated when Twitter was banned in Nigeria.
Yeah.
And Netflix said, you see, well, I told you that this place is funny.
Yeah.
And they were right.
Yeah.
But then Amazon has come into the picture. They are new, they are bold, they are, they don't have the inhibitions that Netflix had. And they see the potential in the film, and they are exploiting that. People are watching that all over the world. The number of people that have watched the film in 1 week that it's been out, even though it had technical problems and had to be withdrawn for a few days. The numbers are staggering. My distributor shared the numbers with me that Amazon shared with them, and it's unprecedented. Based on their startup, they only landed in the territory. This is by far the most influential film that they've released.
Wow.
Since they landed. So I knew it was going to be a topical, controversial, almost divisive film, but I kind of underestimated the level of acrimony, the level of personal attacks that I would receive because of it, because in the eyes of some people, I'm trying to whitewash IBB's image.
See,
far from the truth. I'm just a filmmaker who saw a subject matter that had intrigue, had drama, had action, and had controversy.
Yeah.
And I jumped on it.
See,
and I haven't taken the responsibility very, very lightly. I know that there's a social responsibility that comes from telling those stories. And I exercised real restraint and real responsibility in the way that I handled the story. I did not treat it lightly at all.
Yeah. Obi, see, this is one of the things that are holding us back as a people. We are not free.
No.
Okay. And the truth of the matter is this. And I've in the last 24 months, I've been reading a lot of different books. See, yes, we have been following, in quotes, the footsteps of the West. But in the truth of the matter is this: we have not been doing that. Okay, because there's one thing that the West has, and most of us think we don't see the value of it. That is freedom. That freedom to explore the difficult topics, to tell the story that a lot of people disagree on. That's actually the bread and butter of the West. See, when you tell a story that people disagree on, what happens? In the West, conversation. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. And through that conversation, the other party will have the opportunity to tell their own story.
Yep.
And a third party will tell their own story. A fourth one will tell their own story.
Well,
and what is happening through all this? Many new actors are getting involved, and economy is booming.
Yep.
See, that's what we have not been doing. See, we restrict some people, somebody, just because I think their story will negatively affect me. No.
And the truth of the matter is that there is nothing negative about, you cannot tell the story of IBB without mentioning by name the person he deposed to get into power.
Yeah.
You cannot do it, and so there is nothing derogatory, there is nothing insulting.
Nothing. I didn't see anything like that.
It's just historical facts.
Yeah.
And to be fair to the president, I don't believe that he's heard anything about the film.
No,
these are people
of course
who are being overzealous on his behalf without even consulting him. Because if they show him the film, which
there's nothing derogatory about him. Yeah, it's something. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But I guess somebody is fighting his fire without lighting a match, and that's the problem with overzealous workers or lieutenants.
Wow. Well, I say this. I enjoyed the movie, and just like I said earlier, we don't do history anymore in our secondary school. So I encourage everybody who listens to this podcast to just check out the movie. It's that simple. And if you have
you don't have to like him.
If you have a say, hey,
if you hate him, the more reason why you need to watch it, because you need to know your enemy.
Yeah.
And this tells you about the man properly. So
yeah. if you hate him, you know your enemy. That's it. Yeah. Yes. That's something we need to do. See, I always also tell people to read European history. See, I'm a big fan of European history, and I encourage everybody to read European history. If we think the West are doing anything against us, well, the best way to understand them is to read their history. Get to understand how and what brought them to where they are. If we don't understand it, you can't fight them.
Yeah.
You can't gain from any knowledge they have. The only way to gain those things is to read their history. The only way to be able to fight them effectively is to read their history. That's it. Anyway, so guys, please, I encourage you to check out that movie. It's called Badamasi. Okay.
Badamasi.
Yeah. So, Obi.
Yes, sir.
In your view, what's going to be the effect, the challenges and impact of the likes of Netflix, Amazon? You've already mentioned a little bit about it.
I've already mentioned that. Yes.
Yeah.
I've already mentioned that.
So,
but if you want me to reiterate, I will.
Yeah, no. So I mean, you see. Yes, at the beginning, they are bringing some value, but you don't.
And to be honest, the value that they bring has to be put into context.
Okay.
They're not paying for our content in the kind of figures that they're paying for other contents. For example, that there's a valuation problem.
Okay.
When you consider Nollywood content, and I'm not going to mention any particular platform by name, but there's a strong undervaluation of our content going on.
Okay.
And when we interrogate that situation, they say that the valuation is based on the number of local subscribers.
Okay.
In that geographical region called Nigeria.
Okay, but is
and while that is a valid point,
yeah,
Nigerian platform are the only ones that are valued based on the local content or the local logistics
subscribers,
and subscribers in that particular country. For argument's sake, in America, they don't value American, even though they have a lot of subscribers in America. They're not based, the valuation of the projects
on a global audience.
The global audience. And when we tell them that we have people in the UK, 2 million Nigerians in the UK, and another million Nigerians in America, and another 500,000 Nigerians scattered all over Europe, they don't, and all of them are on those platforms. They don't take them into account. They say they are not subscribers within that geographical enclave called Nigeria. For that reason, they bring down the valuation of the projects. Meanwhile, it is being watched by everybody globally.
Wow.
And that is a very unfair metrics for valuing a film project.
Yeah.
And that's why, when I speak to people and say I have 4 projects on Netflix, they expect me to have a helicopter waiting for me to pay me to where I teach. But I have to take the bus sometimes in order to save money, because I am still better than most people. But if I was an American filmmaker with 4 projects on Netflix and 1 on Amazon, I should be very rich. But I'm not. Yeah. What I am is happy, though. So the second problem is that most of the players, the global players in the industry, they don't pay the license fee in one go. They break it down into 4 installments.
Okay.
And by the time they've reduced the valuation because of those metrics that I spoke about earlier, and whatever it is that they're offering you, they break it into 4.25% portions, and they pay you every 3 months. They give you 25%. Every 3 months, they give you 25%. So by the time you get the money for the film, it's like a salary. Instead of coming back to you bulk,
you can put it into another project.
9 months. It's spread across 9 months, and you can't do anything with it.
Yeah.
So what made Nollywood is that people can make a film, make a profit from it, and make another film.
Yeah.
But if you're not able to, even though the money could make another film for you, but it doesn't come up at the same time, and you can't just get the money and save it because you have needs. So you end up not being able to make that other film because the money hasn't come in one bulk.
Yeah.
So those are the two challenges. A lot of people think that they will come and they will throw money at the industry. I would say that's not happening at all.
So what are our own entrepreneurs doing to take advantage of the global spread of this monster called Nollywood? Because if African entrepreneurs wait and allow the Western streaming services to collaborate everything that they can make money off, they will lose. Are they not even considering to do? I mean, Africa is a 1.3 billion strong people on the continent.
Yeah.
Have they not? Don't you have people who are interested in exploring this?
There are. There have been. There will probably continue to be. And I would like to mention a few of them. Ibaka TV has been around for a while. They're trying to compete at a certain level. Iroko TV, owned by a friend of mine, Jason Njoku, has been competing, trying to hold its own in the face of this very strong competition from global players with deep pockets.
Yeah.
You know, a few platforms have come and gone because they cannot sustain the fight. And I think it's a difficult fight when you're fighting with somebody who is not going to play fair, not because that they are not they are corrupt. No, it's because the advantage they have makes them impossible to deal with. As you can see all over the world, Netflix has become a complete hegemony. You know, they've challenged film industries that are established long ago, and they've won.
Yeah.
They've challenged Hollywood, and they are winning. So where would the African businessman find the money to compete with Netflix on those stakes? You know, you have to pick your fight, and Iroko TV has picked its fight, and they've decided to focus on a particular audience, on a particular kind of films, and they're doing well on the back of that.
Okay.
But to say that there's a company that would come out and take on Netflix with a bottomless pocket that they have, they will be blown out of the waters.
Well, see, this is it. Okay, I believe in economics. Okay, supply demand. Okay, if it's possible to give African filmmakers $1 million for a project, okay, if it's possible, if it's economically possible, and Netflix or other global services refuse to do it, and then why wouldn't an African service do it if it's possible, in terms of would they get their money back?
Yes, that is
Okay.
the important question.
So
how would they get their money back?
Yeah.
Like I said earlier on, the cinema industry has been battered by COVID. And as it stands right now, if your film hasn't made it to any of these platforms, there's a likelihood that you will not recoup your money. So it is not, our people say that you can steal the drum, but where are you going to beat it? You know, if you steal a drum from a village, are you going to beat it in the bush, in the spirit world? So you can spend that money to make the project.
Okay.
What are you going to do with it? What business formula do you have
So
to get your
Obi, my own thing is this. We need to start thinking differently. If it's possible, then we need to do it. Okay. So
like I said, Iroko
yes,
TV has taken a position.
until an African streaming service can compete with them, we don't have a choice.
I think sometimes the best thing to do is not to do anything.
Okay.
Because anybody who goes into the pits, goes into the gutter with Netflix and the global players at this time, would not come out of it alive. I'm sorry. But if you allow the natural process to take its course, because every empire must come to an end. But you have to be ready to take over.
Okay.
Like China has been ready, waiting in the wings, waiting for America to implode, and America is imploding and China is rising. They didn't do it by military force. They didn't do it by direct confrontation. They just prepared in the background and waited for their time. So my advice would be not to be foolhardy and go head on, toe to toe with any of these platforms.
Yeah,
they'll knock you out. But if content is king, so long as we retain the control over the production, so long as it's people like me telling the stories, and not American coming to Nigeria to tell it, so long as we have that, we have a chance.
But then don't forget something.
Wait
so long as our government is not trying to tie your hand not to tell a particular story.
Yes.
Okay.
So long as we have a conducive environment.
Exactly. So let me just ask you my last question. See, you have been in this industry for a while. Okay. I know, like we talked about earlier, the opportunity for people to do this in their own little spaces. Okay. So what's your advice for young Africans who want to follow your footsteps?
It's not to follow my footsteps, but to make their own tracks. Because to follow my footsteps, they have to be born in 1967.
Okay.
They have to carry the burden of a generation of deprivation. They have to have grown up with kwashiorkor. They have to have seen the level of trouble that you experience when we were at university, when we have strikes and all of those things. They have to have suffered and gone many nights without food. That is not something I wish on anybody, even my worst enemy, which I don't have. So it's a case of we are living in different times.
Yeah.
You can take inspiration from the fact that I am multidisciplinary.
Yeah.
That I know how to do a few things. You can take inspiration from that and learn and be that. You can study microbiology and end up becoming a filmmaker because I did law and I'm a filmmaker.
Yeah.
You can learn from all of those things and take cues from them. But ultimately, it is your journey.
Yeah.
Not mine. I've run mine. I'm 55 years old and I had a decent life. And this man is not going to come again. Me, it's one. You are one. So find your path, find inspiration in people like me, with all the people out there, home and abroad, who you admire. Take something from them, mold it into something that makes you better. Go out there and make your own tracks. You are lucky you are living in a world where you have at your disposal all the ingredients you need to be successful, to be noticed. We never had that when we were growing up. Make use of it. Take advantage of it. Broadcast yourself. Show your talent. You ask a lot of young people, they want to make their first film, $1 million, $2 million. Nobody's going to give you that to make a first
Yeah.
film, except your dad, Dangote. In fact, Dangote will not even give it to his children. So it's a case of starting from where you are, using your phone.
Yeah.
Starting small, growing organically, learning, studying, evolving, becoming better, becoming resilient, refusing to take no for an answer, waiting for your time.
Wow.
When it comes, it will look like 419. It will look like Wayo. It will look like Juju. But it's not Juju. Because when preparedness meets opportunity, some people call it luck. But me, I call it being ready.
Wow. Obi, thank you.
Sir.
Thank you very much for being a fantastic guest of Think Big for Africa podcast.
Wherever you are, think big. Wherever you are, think big.
Yes.
Think happy.
Yes.
Keep believing. Keep believing. Keep going.
All right. Bye. Take care.
Sir. Bye, sir.